Welcome, everyone. It is March 16th, and it is the Center for Family History at the International African American Museum monthly webinar. The topic today is getting to know FamilySearch. Got a little bit of Charleston trivia going to share with you. Matter of fact, for those of you that attend more of our webinars, please share any trivia to contribute to the list. So number one, what is the size of a football field and a half? What's located at Gadsden's Wharf? Number two. What has 9 galleries? That was number three. Number four, who has a Center for Family History that provides educational programs for visitors, both young and old? Who has membership opportunities? All of these answers can be found on the main IAAmuseum.org webpage, and you can also look under events for the upcoming sessions, webinars, and talks and things that the International African American Museum is having. First, I want to give you a quick glimpse, just that the main website has the Center for Family History. You can see there's an overview, a resource center, digital archives, and where you can contribute. Just a few reminders before we get started. As you know, this session is being recorded. It will be available within the next week or so on the YouTube channel. Please keep yourself muted and turn off your video during the presentation or the discussion. Closed caption is available. And if you have questions, please place them in the Q&A box located across your panel. Questions will be responded to after the panelists do their presentation and we have a little bit of discussion. So I'm going to say welcome to our guests. We've got Thom Reed and Julie A. Anderson. And I'm going to let Julie introduce herself first, and then she can turn it over to Thom, and then I will let you all go from there.
All right, thank you, Shelley. My name is Julia Anderson. I'm a research specialist at the FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City. I'm on the United States and Canada team. I'm an accredited genealogist and accredited genealogist lecturer, and my credential is in the United States Gulf South region. So I feel right at home.
Great.
I'll turn it over to you, Thom.
She's the brains behind the operation, y'all. She's the one who was hired by the library specifically to do research all day long. Let me go ahead. I'm going to throw my presentation up there so you can just see more about us. Looks like it should be there. Am I good?
Yes.
Ms.
We
Shelley?
see your
Okay.
slide. There you go.
Okay, so my role is just a program manager for North America African Heritage, and so that means I'm involved in all the relationships, all the products, services that we try and provide and put together as a program for those doing African American and Afro-Canadian research. And obviously Julia is a research specialist, so she's the one that's digging deep every day, trying to help our patrons in various ways, both at the library or through online consultations, discover their family. And I'm not sure how many of you know or have some familiarity with FamilySearch, but I'm going to jump right into this presentation. FamilySearch is sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And since 1894, when we started as the Genealogical Society of Utah, we've been providing our services free of charge to anyone, regardless of their religious tradition, faith, or background, access to historical records, to a website, to all the resources that make FamilySearch helpful in doing your family history research. There's a video that I'm going to try to play, and I apologize if the sound quality isn't quite there. I'm going to turn it up as loud as I can in my office so that you can hear it. But it really just gives a quick background on what is FamilySearch. I'll dive into some few statistics, and then we'll kind of go through an agenda of what we're going to cover during the next, couple of hours, I guess, hour and 40 or 50 minutes or so. So hopefully y'all can hear this.
This is planet Earth, And we are FamilySearch. Oh, wait, who's FamilySearch? Well, she is, and he is, and they are. You are. FamilySearch is a free, worldwide family connecting service that is driven 100% by people. We help you discover family across generations through our website, mobile apps, and in-person help at over 5,000 local family search centers. And it all starts with Angelo. Well, no, your family doesn't start with Angelo, but FamilySearch's work does. Angelo is one of literally countless archivists or records custodians from around the world. These records might be names and dates and certificates, but they also might be photos and stories. At FamilySearch, a primary focus is obtaining records so we can make them available to you. To make this possible, we collaborate with commercial companies, archives, and organizations in over 150 countries and counting. FamilySearch is an equal opportunity record preserver, sending volunteers to digitize records everywhere, including where records are most at risk. So a few years ago, Charito helped preserve tens of thousands of records in the Philippines just barely before the originals were destroyed in a typhoon. And Amelia and Samuel are just a small part of FamilySearch's huge undertaking to preserve names from oral genealogies in Africa. But having all these records is only as valuable as your ability to easily search them to find your family connections. That's why Cameron in Indiana, Bryn in Germany, Juan in Argentina, Tsuki in Japan, and tens of thousands of volunteers throughout the world are working literally around the clock. Because while those awoken are sleeping, those in Mumbai are hard at work, helping to verify computer automated indexing. Thanks to all of them, FamilySearch has over 16.8 billion searchable names and images. That means someone in Seattle can find a record of their family member from Micronesia, obtained by a volunteer from England, and indexed by a volunteer from Ghana. See how much of a worldwide effort this is? Then FamilySearch's engineers like Brian, not every engineer named Brian, they use their clever knowledge of technology to make this information fun and accessible to everyone. Our users, millions of folks like you and like Jamie, share their discoveries by building shared family trees online and in our app. Already, there are over 1.4 billion names in the tree. Imagine that family photo. And because they're building the family tree of humanity, you can see how you're connected with other people, uniting families. That's how O'Day, who set out to find his ancestors, discovered his cousins less than 1,000 miles away. And perhaps most uniquely of all, if you get stuck or want help, you can get one-on-one help online or visit one of our family search centers all around the world from Perth to Paris. So on your next vacation virtually anywhere, even Hawaii, you can do some family history with friendly consultants like Liza and Lou. Or make your next vacation a visit to the largest genealogical learning library in the world, maybe the universe, in Salt Lake City. Or Roots Tech, the largest family history conference in the world with over 3 million participants. And remember, the records, online access to the family trees, the apps, even the in-person assistance, it's all free to people everywhere with no catch. Except you might feel a little or a lot more connected to your family then and now. Every family from everywhere is important. That means you have information that can help. You too can be a part of FamilySearch, even if you just know the names of your grandparents, your great-grandparents, even your great-grandparents, sisters, uncles, cousins twice removed. What you know could be the answer to someone else's question. Join your family on FamilySearch today.
I hope you were able to see that. Apologies if you didn't get the sound, but we're not a small organization by any means. And like I said, we've been doing this since 1894. You can see some of kind of our key stats, and I'll point out that there's QR codes on all these slides. So if you're watching at home and want to go to links to web pages and various things, you can scan those QR codes there. If you're watching this later, you can also use those QR codes to get there. But 12.99 billion. I was hoping it was 13. I mean, we're like that close to 13 billion searchable names in historical records. And you probably didn't realize that 21 million people visit FamilySearch.org every month. And we've jumped up. The videos was in 2023 and talked about the number of family search centers we have being 5,000. We've added that many more since that video. So they are literally in areas around the world and probably in a location very close to you. if not just, going into our affiliate library, which is at IAAM. So these are kind of the latest stats from 2024 and people in our family tree. I will post, just because I know we had an issue with that video, I'll go ahead and post a link in the chat for folks to watch that video on YouTube. But I really want to thank Shelley for bringing this up, and particularly Brian Sheffy as well. We've had a long-standing relationship between FamilySearch and the International African American Museum. I remember walking on the grass underneath where the building is now standing in 2018 and listening to then the CEO, Michael Moore, share the vision of what they wanted to embark on and to build a Center for Family History and educational programming that would allow African Americans to discover their family in new and exciting ways, and knew that we needed to be a part of it. And so we were so happy to be able to present a donation to the museum as they were building. And we were grateful to celebrate the grand opening last year. I can't believe that it's only been, 9 months since you've opened your doors, and we had the opportunity then to visit. You see Steve Rockwood there with Dr. Tanya Matthews, who's been just a great friend and advocate of our relationship. And we just wish the best and hope for great things to come at the Center for Family History. You're doing something that's truly unique and amazing in this country and in the world. And we just want to be there to help in any way. So when Shelley asked, would we be willing to come right off of Roots Tech and the many things that Julia and I are both involved in to share this with y'all, we said, absolutely. We are a loyal supporter of IAM and the Center for Family History, and look for this type of presentation and other things to come. So today we'll try and cover in our time together. Julia and I are going to go kind of back and forth between various things. She's going to kind of share some African American resources on FamilySearch, part of a presentation that she gives kind of regularly through the FamilySearch library webinar series. But some of you may not be familiar with the things that you might not know FamilySearch as an African American research, resource for you. So she's going to share some of those, including our new full text search product for discovering enslaved ancestors. This is hot off the presses, just released at Roots Tech. Everybody's talking about it. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions about it as well. And how now you can document other relationships for enslaved persons within the FamilySearch family tree, something that I know a couple of other organizations have tried to do for years. And now we do it. I'm going to share one of my new babies. We launched an African American landing page that I also shared at Roots Tech in my presentation. And I'll talk also about a booklet that you can download for free from our website to kind of get people started with beginning their family history research. I'll point out some things about the FamilySearch blog. Julie's going to talk about our research wiki, which is amazing, but we've got some unique things that are on our blog that you might not have seen, as well as ways for you to get help for free from around the world through online genealogy consultations, or to access our vast amount of African American content that's available in the Roots Tech video library. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and give it over to my colleague, Julie Anderson, to kind of talk about these resources, full text search, and other relationships.
Looks good, Julie.
Okay, I just looking for my mute button. It moved around. All right, so to begin our time together, I'm going to introduce you to some of the many resources that we have at FamilySearch for African American genealogy research. And my objectives for this beginning portion are to briefly review the standard research process so you can see how our resources fit in with that. And then I'm going to introduce key FamilySearch resources that you can use. And finally, enable you to find your African American ancestors, because that is what it's all about, is to find our family and connect with them. So as you begin your study of family history, it's very important and helpful to understand the research process. And that can be broken down into 5 simple steps. The first is to gather known information. Second, you want to choose a specific research goal. Third, you'll want to find new information to answer your research questions. Fourth, you'll need to evaluate that new information and see how it fits in with what you already know. And fifth, you should share the new information that you found. All right, so as you look for new information, FamilySearch has many, many resources for researching your ancestors. And I'm just going to talk about a few of those. We have the African American Genealogy Wiki page. We have the African American Online Genealogy Wiki page, the Quick Guide to African American Records, the Southern States Slavery and Bondage Collections, the African American Bookshelf, the digital bookshelf, sorry, the Freedmen's Bureau records, Freedmen's Bank records, and then I'm also going to show you the other relationship feature on Family Tree, which is really exciting. Okay, so the FamilySearch Wiki is the home of most of these resources. To find the wiki, you simply go to FamilySearch.org and click on Search in the top menu bar, and it's just right there in the red. A drop-down menu will appear, and Research Wiki is a choice near the bottom of the list. The Research Wiki main page has a search bar in the top center, and you can also click on different areas of the map to search specific locations. If you type African American into the search field, you will get a drop-down menu with several options. So there you can see I've got African American there and all of these options. There's even more below this, but when you type in African American, all of these things are going to just pop up for you to choose. The first page I want to show you is called African American Genealogy. This is a great starting place. It has links to African American online genealogy records and the FamilySearch community for African American genealogy research. And both of those are incredible resources just on their own. So you don't want to miss clicking on those colorful buttons because they'll take you to the places that you can explore. Along the right side of the page is a column entitled African American Genealogy Wiki Topics, and each one of those topics is hyperlinked to another page that tells you about those records. There are also links to articles about name changes, slavery research, and other unique African American research topics. If you scroll down a little on that page, you'll see links to the state African American pages with resources on African American research that are different for each state. Links to additional collections are also included below. Then if you scroll down even lower on the page, you can see links to information on collections in the National Archives, links to African American research methodology, and details on African American history. African American online genealogy records is another page on the Research Wiki, and it includes links for online records which are grouped by category, such as vital records, biographies, census records, church records, military, and newspapers. Now, these lists are not exclusive to FamilySearch, but they include links to collections on other websites as well. So this is kind of your go-to spot to get to all the resources that you're going to need to get started researching your family. We also have a page called the Quick Guide to African American Records, and this outlines methodology and search strategies for doing African American research. This is an invaluable resource for learning about different record types and how to go about finding your ancestors. Next, we have the Southern States Slavery and Bondage Collections page, which goes through each state, county by county, and details what collections in the FamilySearch catalog can assist you in your research, along with notes about the particular collections. Many of these collections are digitized and available for viewing online, and those are absolutely free. It is always a good idea to browse through the records in the area where your ancestor lived, because he or she might not be listed by the name you know them as. Look for family members and other associates, including enslavers, and use additional identifying information like occupation or physical description, along with family stories, to help you locate your ancestors in the records. Next, we have the African American Digital Bookshelf, which has an extensive list to link the books regarding African American ancestors, historical context, and guidance to other resources. These books are free to search online, and the titles covering the United States as a whole are listed alphabetically and are from a variety of websites like FamilySearch, Internet Archive, Google Books, HathiTrust, the Library of Congress, and others. And additional titles pertain to particular states and are listed below. So first you have all the US collection, and then you have the specific ones for the states beneath them. The Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, which is often called the Freedmen's Bureau, was created at the end of the Civil War to assist formerly enslaved persons called freedmen and refugees. It supervised relief efforts, established over 4,000 schools, opened 100 new hospitals, distributed food and clothing, served refugee camps, helped freedmen legalize their marriages, find employment, enter labor contracts, and secure back pay, and even assisted soldiers and sailors in applying for bounty payments and pensions. The Bureau also helped reunite families that were separated by slavery. The Bureau itself closed in 1872, but during the 7 years it operated, the Bureau created hundreds of thousands of records, and these are all digitized and available on FamilySearch. Records of the Freedmen's Bureau contain a wealth of knowledge for those seeking African American ancestors, and the Research Wiki has several pages about these records. One is this article on the Freedmen's Bureau record types. It provides essential background information for those of you who are trying to use these records. You can search these records directly from the website discoverfreedmen.org. A search on this website will take you to the historical record search on FamilySearch. In this example, I searched for Jack Jefferson and received 190 results, and you can see that in the upper left-hand corner. I will need to read through each of these matches carefully to determine if any of them are for the right Jack Jefferson. Here's an example of a hospital record from the Freedmen's Bureau entitled Register of the Sick and Wounded. Here you can see that the patient named Henry Clay, an adult male, was admitted to the hospital, and then there on the right you can see that it was for a gunshot wound. Here's another record from the Freedmen's Bureau, a register of formerly enslaved persons. They are listed by the name of the enslaver and list the individual's name, sex, age, color, occupation, residence, former owner, and former residence. For instance, this document shows the people who had been enslaved by T.C. Watson, namely Luke, Rebecca, May, Manda, Selah, and Margaret with her 4 children. Their former owner was also listed as T.C. Watson, and both their current and former residences were listed as Stockton County, or Stockton, Copiah County, Mississippi. This information is extremely helpful when trying to trace formerly enslaved persons in historical records. Here is a marriage record from the Freedmen's Bureau collection. It is dated April 6, 1865 at Natchez, Mississippi. It states, I have this day united in matrimony Lewis Jefferson of Louisiana and Delia Robertson of Louisiana. Age of man, 28 years. Color, black. Color of his father, black. Color of his mother, black. And then the rest of his section was left blank. Age of woman, 20 years. Color, mulatto. Color of father, white. Color of mother, black. Lived with another man 1 year, separated from him by force. The woman had 1 child by previous connection. The witness listed was John N. Fitzhugh, and the marriage was solemnized by Paige Tyler, minister of the AME Church in Natchez. The next invaluable set of records on FamilySearch I'd like to tell you about are commonly called the Freedmen's Bank records. These are the records of the African American Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. The bank was created in 1865 as a depository for Black veterans, as well as former slaves and their families to build their savings. However, it also helped community organizations. Many societies, churches, charities, and other private organizations opened accounts and established trusts with the company. With the bank's assistance, hospitals, schools, and institutions were established. Numerous Black soldiers and veterans of the war opened savings accounts in the banks, which closed in 1874. Its records of 480,000 names, estimated to be the largest single repository of lineage-linked African American records, has been indexed by FamilySearch and is available online. The Freedmen's Bank signature cards, or registers, can contain the names, ages, birthplaces, residences, employers, family members, and former enslaver and plantation of those who opened bank accounts. Here's the card for Henry Hobbs. Let's look at it in 3 different parts. The first part states, record for Henry Hobbs. Date of application, October 3rd, 1867. Lives in Huntsville on Ham Street, some 8 miles southeast of Huntsville on Widow Hobbs's plantation. Age 44, complexion Black. The next section states, father Hank, mother Aggie, wife name Harriet Hobbs. Name of children, James C. Hobbs, 21 years old. Martha Hobbs, married and lives with father. Her husband's name, Charles A. Brown. Place of birth, Madison County, 8 miles southeast of Huntsville. Residence, Huntsville, Alabama. Occupation, shoemaker. Then the last section of the card was reserved for remarks. It states, father lives with me in Huntsville and mother lives in Mississippi, about 12 miles from Blackhawk. He has a brother, Claiborne Hobbs, who lives about 3 miles from town on Jones Plantation. Has a brother, Sam, in Mississippi. Has 2 sisters. One lives in Athens, Hetty, and the other 3 miles from Whitesburg. As you can see, these bank records contain important identifying information and can be extremely valuable in locating your ancestors and their family members. The last resource on FamilySearch I want to introduce in this part of the presentation is on Family Tree. Robert Alexander Taylor and his wife, Mary Maria Woods, were slaveholders in Texas when Mary passed away in 1852. She died intestate, leaving no will. In order to settle her estate, an inventory had to be made of her property, including anything she owned in common with her husband. In Mary's probate file was an inventory taken in January 1857. This included land, enslaved persons, cattle, and miscellaneous property like furniture and tools. The enslaved persons were named in this document. One Negro woman named Emily, aged 30 years, and her 3 children, Eugene, aged 6 years, Harriet, aged 4 years, and Texana, aged 3 years. One Negro man named Elijah, aged 43 years. One Ditto, or Negro, Dilsey, aged 45 years, and wife of the above, and their children, Viz. Elijah Jr., aged 22 years, Anne, aged 17 years, Lewis, aged 18 years, Mary, 13 years, Elizabeth, 11 years, Julia, 9 years, Huey, 7 years, and Charles, aged 5 years. So the first family mentioned in the probate file was the family of Emily with her 3 children, Eugene, Harriet, and Texana. And from the information in that record, I could figure out about when they were born. The second enslaved family was that of Elijah and Dilsey with their children, and I listed all of them out here on this table. I figured out their birth years by subtracting their ages from the date on the probate file. Another page in the probate file states, all the aforesaid property, and that in this case means the enslaved persons, was acquired by him, meaning Robert Taylor, in the state of Missouri, except some of the young Negroes, which are the children of those women brought by your petitioner into the state of Texas from the state of Missouri. I could go to property records in Missouri and see if I could locate more records regarding these enslaved families. But first I wanted to record what I had already found. But how could I do this? I didn't know their last names, if they had any. All I knew was their relationships to each other and the identity of their enslavers. Well, first I went to Robert Alexander Taylor's person page on FamilySearch Family Tree. Then I scrolled down to the bottom of the screen to the section called Other Relationships, and I selected Add Other Relationship. If I click on the little down arrow in the relationship box, it pulls up a drop-down menu. And from that menu, I chose enslavement. Other choices for other relationships are apprenticeship, employment, godparent, household, neighbor, and relative. On this page, I can add any information I have about the individual. So here you can see I added Emily, a female who was deceased and who I estimated to have been born in about 1827. The computer did not find an obvious match for Emily in the tree, so stated there was no match found and gave me an option to create the person. Next, I got a confirmation screen, and that looked correct based on what I knew from the record, and so I clicked Save. Once I saved the information, it showed up on Robert Taylor's person page under the enslavement category. You can see there it lists Emily. I went ahead and added all the enslaved individuals mentioned in Robert's deceased wife's probate file. Next, I was able to use the ID numbers generated by FamilySearch to connect the families. On the left is Emily with her 3 children, and on the right are Elijah and Dilsey with their 8 children. This other relationships option is a great tool we now have that can connect families even when we don't have surnames or other details genealogists usually use to identify people. As we find additional information on these individuals, we can add that to the tree. So I think that is a really exciting thing from FamilySearch.
I want to clap. I will hope everybody. John, I don't think everybody felt that at that moment. What you just said and what we've done and allowed. I do see exciting in the chat, so that was good.
Very good, very good. So should I just move right on to the
keep going, I think.
part? Okay, so I gotta actually end this slideshow a second because I gotta switch gears.
And I want to interject for a second while you're switching presentations. I do see some questions that are in the chat, and I'm just saying if they're not necessarily directly related to kind of the resources and things that we're talking about available for African American research on FamilySearch, we're going to hold those to the end so that you can ask those questions to the group. There's some research techniques that have been asked about. There's some type of records that people are looking for. I'm trying to go and you'll be able, while I'm presenting, Julia, be able to go look at the Q&A and maybe answer things you can. But yeah, just know that we're not trying to not answer your questions right now. We just want to stay focused on these resources that we're kind of sharing with you. And we'll have a good hearty discussion at the end about research methodology, techniques, and other resources and things. So.
Okay, are you seeing my slide that says full text search?
I
Okay.
see it.
Very good. So I just have to preface this with saying this to me is the most exciting thing that has ever happened. So get ready for some goosebumps. And
can everybody react? Like I see you can raise hands, but can you react and like clap and all that kind of stuff? Because I seen in the chat earlier, actually, Julia, that Celia Hayward talked about using the full text search and it worked. And she found new information on her great-great-grandfather using this new product. So
that gives me chills.
Awesome.
That's
Okay, they're chatting up a storm. They're giving high fives, clapping, shouting, hooray, all in the chat. So
oh good.
you
Okay,
keep
I don't
going.
have the chat open right now,
Yeah,
but
I
I will
got you.
get to it in a
I'll keep giving. You keep going.
All right, so for this part of the presentation, I want to introduce the advantages of full text search, just in case you're not familiar with what that means. Then I want to show you how to use the full text search to identify enslaved people in the US records. And then I also want to just reiterate how to add that information to Family Tree, just like I just showed you for the other relationships. So the advantages of full text search are many. But one thing that happens with it is it gives you access to over 100 million unindexed document images. Now, the reason that you can search by name on FamilySearch or Ancestry or MyHeritage or wherever is because someone has read the original record, typed some of the information from the record into the computer program so that you can search on those specific fields that give you information. So usually things that are indexed are people's names, their ages, and where they were living at the particular time the record was created, and then maybe the date of the event, that the main event that happened in the record. What doesn't get indexed is a lot of times things like race or family members mentioned in the record that aren't the main person, witnesses on a document, neighbors, or in the case of African American research, most of the time the enslaved people were not indexed. And so full text search actually gives you access to the names and words on all of these unindexed documents. You can search every single word in the text. And while the search isn't perfect, it's really very good. And so you can try different words like relationship words, daughter, son, neighbor, friend. You can also search for the word slave or Negro, and that gives you a lot of control in what you find in your results. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. You can also use different parameters to find exact words and phrases in the full text search. And you can focus your search to include specific years, record types, locations, and specific collections. So these are really, really important for genealogists to be able to do. So to get your full text search access, you can go to this website, which is just an offshoot of FamilySearch. So it's FamilySearch.org, and then you have /en for the language English, and then /labs. You can also get to it from your FamilySearch login page. Once you've signed into your account, there's going to be a link somewhere on that page that says FamilySearch Labs new. Try out some potential new features and tell us what you think. And so then you want to click on the View Experiments. So these are some of the experiments that are going on with FamilySearch Labs. And basically what this means is we have this really cool technology that we want to try out, and it's not perfect yet, and we want your feedback. But we're giving it to you because it's so cool, we want you to try it. So for the full text search, you want to choose this first experiment, expand your search with full text. And I've already turned mine on, so I only have the option to turn it off. But it will, when you first go to it, it'll be like those other tiles that say try it in the blue. So you're just going to click on try it, or in my case, go to experiment. And when I do that, it takes me to this search page, which the URL for that is actually familysearch.org/search/full-text. And it's going to come up with this really basic keyword search bar. And on the bottom left corner there's a YouTube video you can watch. It's only like 5 minutes, and it gives you some tips about improving your keyword search for this full text search. And it gives you some pointers that we may not cover today. So you're going to want to watch that little video. If you click on the More Options button that I just circled in green, then it's going to bring up one more search bar where it says Add Ancestor Information Name. Well, something kind of strange about this is those are both just keyword search bars. But I think that in the future, they're going to add capability to add more specifics like birth date or location or other things. But remember, this is an experiment. And so it's going to be changing a lot. You're also not going to be able to get help from the FamilySearch support team because this is just an experiment. So if you have questions or anything else, you can reach out in an online consultation that Tom's going to talk about later, or you can wait a few days and see if the thing has changed and been updated or fixed. So if you scroll down to the bottom of that page on the search page, it says there are only 2 collections currently available. One is the U.S. land and probate records, and the other is Mexico notary records. Now, both of those are in there because they are very lengthy documents that don't have a standard place in the document that gives specific information. It's just like all handwritten text, and they are a wealth of genealogical information. Now, the U.S. land and probate records actually also includes U.S. plantation records, and I've tried to do some searching in that. It's a little bit clunky still, but anticipate that it's going to get better and better. The ones that I was looking at last night were from New Orleans, and they listed hundreds and hundreds of enslaved people by name and gave their age. So there's so much potential in searching these records. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So with the search parameters that you can use are keyword or name, but there's some different things that you can do when you are searching with this. So you can type what you want to search for in either box, the keyword box or the name box. And like I said before, they're both actually keyword search places. On the page, there's this little box that says search tips, and this is really important. You're going to want to refer back to this numerous times. You can use quotation marks around an exact word or phrase that you want to find, and that is really helpful when you're searching for someone's name. So the example given here is Henry Jones. If I were looking for Henry Jones and I put his name in quotation marks, the hits that I'm going to get from the search are going to be Henry Jones instead of all the Henrys and all the Joneses. So it's going to focus my search a lot better. You can also use the plus symbol to add a specific word or phrase to a search. So let's say I search for Henry Jones in quotes, but maybe he was an enslaver and he had an enslaved person named Judith, or maybe he had a daughter named Judith or a wife named Judith. And so I wanted to add her to the search too. I could do plus Judith, and then I'm going to get the Henry Joneses that have Judith on the same image. I can also use the minus symbol, which is the same thing as a hyphen, and that's going to remove the matches that have that particular word or phrase on the same image. So let's say I knew that I was not related to John Jones, and I knew that there was a Henry Jones that had a son named John, and he was in all the records, and so I wanted to not have him come up in my search. I could do my Henry Jones in quotes, and then I could do minus John, and then if John is on that same image, then it's not going to give it back to me as a match. Then I can also use the question mark symbol, and that takes the place of one letter or character in a name. So if you're not quite sure what that letter could be, or it's always spelled interchangeably, then you can use the question mark to just have the computer bring back hits or matches that have a variation on that particular symbol. You can also use the asterisk, which will not just replace one symbol or letter, but multiple. And so you can see here, if you did car asterisks, then you'll get car, cars, carriage, carpenter, and all kinds of other things. So those are really good ways to search. And the question mark and the asterisk are called wildcards. Here I have some examples. So if I were looking for Elijah Taylor and put Elijah Taylor in the search bar, but I didn't have quotes or anything, I'm going to get all the matches that say Elijah or Taylor. So I'm going to get a lot of extra matches. If I did Elijah Taylor in quotation marks, then I'm going to get the matches that have Elijah and Taylor within about a word or so of each other. If I did plus Elijah plus Taylor, I'm going to get all the images that have Elijah and Taylor listed on the same image. If I did plus Elijah minus Taylor, I'm going to get matches that have Elijah, but not Taylor. So if Taylor's listed on the same image with Elijah, it's not going to give that back to me as a match. And then if I did plus parentheses Elijah Taylor, then I'm going to get whatever I had as my previous search term plus the things that say Elijah or Taylor on the same image. So that's not listed as one of the search tips on that last slide. So you can play around with that a little bit and see if that helps you in your searches.
I've seen, Julie, I've seen this used a lot of times with localities. So people are looking for a name plus if it's a plantation or a specific county or things like that. These wildcards and using these are huge helps. If you don't find it one way, that's why Julia's telling you this, so that you can look a different way. And it might just be the way that it's written in the document. For example, Elijah Taylor, there may be a space of some or the transcriptions that were done were all by AI, by computer, aided indexing kind of and transcription there. So they aren't perfect. And that's why using the wildcards is helpful, because the transcription may not contain the exact same spelling that you think it would or things like that. So just adding a couple of points to what you're saying.
Those are really important tips, Thom. Thank you so much. So I just want to reiterate these wildcards here that the question mark replaces one letter. So for instance, if I did TA question mark LOR, I'm going to get these variations and others where the middle letter there is different. And then if I did an asterisk, then it'll replace one or more letters, or I could even get the option of not having a letter there. So tar, Taylor, tamer, tanner, and so forth. All right, so if I'm adding ancestor information in the search bar and I just put Elijah Taylor with no quotes or anything, then the results that I got back were over 4.5 million. I'm not going to be able to read all those in my lifetime. So I want to focus my search a little. If I did plus Elijah minus Taylor, then I'm going to get all the Elijahs that don't have Taylor associated with them. And then I get almost 1.3 million. So it's fewer results, but there's still way too many there. Let's say I wanted plus Elijah plus Taylor. So this is all the images that have both Elijah and Taylor on the same image. Then I get 110,000. So now I'm focusing a lot more. And then if I do Elijah Taylor in quotes, it gives me 5,825. So we're going to talk more about focusing that kind of result so that you can get exactly to the place where you're trying to research. So in focusing our search, there are these filters available on the search page. And right now, the ones that you can use are record year, record type, record place, and collection. So if you filter by record year, it breaks it down into the century and tells you how many records there are for each century. And then beyond that, it's going to break it down into decades. So it's not really specific, but that's probably a good thing, because sometimes the dates on these records don't exactly correspond with the events that are occurring in them. It can just be the year it was recorded, or you might be looking for someone's death date, but it's in a probate record that was recorded or proven 20 years after the man died. So I would hesitate to use the record year search right away. Then you can also filter by record type. So business records, census records, church records, and so forth. So if there's a specific type of record you're looking for, you can focus your search that way. Then you can filter by record place. And this is my favorite one. I always do this one very first, because in my experience, place is more important when you're doing your genealogy than even names are. names can vary widely, but the place is tied to a specific piece of real estate. And so the name of it might change, but it's still that location. So I really like to use that record place. Once I select United States of America, then it'll give me the different states, and I can drill down from the state to the county. And so that's really helpful. And then you can also filter by collection, and there's a lot of collections available on there. I did this little screenshot to show that the US plantation records there have 71,000 matches just for the filter that I put in. So there's quite a few records there. So I took the Elijah Taylor search that's in quotes, and I just wanted to show you what happens before I filter the search. So I've got 5,825 matches. These come from Alexandria County, Virginia, Lynn County, Missouri, Craven County, North Carolina. So they're all over the map. So I really do want to focus my search to a particular location to make sure I'm looking for the right Elijah Taylor. Because even though you might think you're the only one that has an ancestor named John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, there's going to be another one in there that's going to throw you off. So I'm the kind of person whose ancestors are named John Smith. So I always need this feature. So here is an example of filtering by place. So we've got 5,823 results in the US, but then you can see how many results there are for each of the states. So if I move along here and I choose Missouri, for instance, Missouri has 172. That's a lot fewer results and a lot more manageable for me to try to search through. And then from Missouri, I can then choose a county. So let's say I choose Johnson County. There's only 15 results. I can easily read through 15 documents in a research session and feel like I have made progress toward my research goal. So when I have the 15 results, you can see they're all from Johnson County, Missouri, and it gives me the date of the record, 1875, 1880, and then some instances where the name is listed. So I can even scroll through these matches and pick ones that I think would be the most profitable. So when I'm looking for enslaved persons, there's some tips that I can use. One of these is to put the plus and then quotation marks, the words Negro, slave. We always, when we're doing full text search, we have to use the words that they used in the documents. And these two were really common in the research that I've been doing as far as identifying enslaved people. So in this case, William Howard was an enslaver that lived in Tennessee. And so I put him, I wanted to find who he had enslaved. So I put his name in quotes, and I added in the keywords plus and then parentheses Negro slave. And so this filter gave me back 86 results. One of these was for a deed from 1856. And you can see here, there's a little image of the document on the left, and then it highlights the places where William and Howard were listed in the document. On the image. And also I can see that it refers to someone that's called a Negro slave named Mike, alias Jax, and it tells his age. So I want to see more about this. So I want to go to the document itself. And when I click on the link, I can see the image. And on the right side, there is a full transcription of the handwriting. Now, all this is done by artificial intelligence. The computer read the cursive. And we have been waiting for this technology for years and years. It's so exciting. So you can look at the transcription there on the right, and it will highlight your search term. So it makes it easier to find. If I hover over one of those, it will turn the search term on the document blue. So it's even easier to find. And I don't have a slide that shows that, unfortunately. So you're going to want to play around with this feature and check that out. I can actually download the image or the transcript or both And I do that by clicking that little download button that's under where it says full transcript. And I've circled that in green. And then it brings up this download screen, and you can choose what you want to download. Here's a bigger version of that. So you can include the record image with the highlights, the transcription, and the citation, or you can customize that to whatever you want. And then you just hit the download button. So going back to the document though, I can see here highlighted in yellow is the name William Howard, and then the words slave and Negro, and I can read the document. So this particular one is, let's see here. Benjamin F. Howard was made the guardian of this enslaved person named Mike, who went by Jack, to take care of him for William Howard's daughter, who was named Agnes. And so I wanted to see what I could do to add this enslaved person named Mike to the tree.
I'm gonna pause you just for
Oh,
one
yeah.
second, Julia, just because everyone's jaws are dropped. Can you go back to the previous slide? I want to point
sure
out just
can, yeah.
this is a weird side thing, but when I was playing with the experiment previous to the product of full text search, and so I pulled the transcription of a document. And I actually went to ChatGPT with the transcription and asked the transcription to summarize, or asked ChatGPT to summarize the relationships and help define the relationships that were in it. And it was so amazing to be able to do that.
Wow.
You're doing it like researchers do, and like all of us have been trained to do, is read through it yourself and make your own notes. But I'm just giving you a little aside. You could take the transcript after you've downloaded it, throw it into ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT with the prompt to help you define the relationships and the details that were included in this deed. And it will do a decent job potentially for helping you to quickly get through that.
Wow, that is amazing. And that's something that I haven't even touched on. And that just gives me chills thinking about that.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, keep going.
All right. So I have this enslaved person with a name and an age. He was 12 years old in this document, which was January 1856. And I know that he had been enslaved by William Howard. William was deeding him to his daughter Agnes, and this other individual, who I know is also his son, Benjamin F. Howard, is made the guardian of the enslaved person. But I want to add Mike to the family tree. So because he was actually deeded to Agnes, she was now the official enslaver of Mike. So I looked her up in the tree, and this is her right here, Agnes Howard, born 1813, North Carolina. Then she lived in Henderson County, Tennessee. And it's got her parents there. Her father was William Howard. He's the one that was deeding her the enslaved person, Mike. And it has Agnes's husband there as Richard Blair, and she's listed in the deed as Agnes Blair. So I'm pretty confident that this is the right person that I want to attach Mike to. So here is Agnes's person page on FamilySearch. And if I scroll down, I can see her family members there. On the left, she's listed with her spouse and children, and on the right, she's listed with her parents and siblings. And you can see there at the very, very bottom, it says other relationships, and there's a little plus. It says add other relationships. So this is like I showed you in that other presentation. Here I have Agnes, and I chose the enslavement relationship. And I typed in Mike alias Jack. He was male and deceased, and he was born about 1843. And in this case, so in the last part of the presentation, the one I showed you, there was no match. And so I had to add them to the tree. In this case, he was already attached to Agnes's father, William. And so because he was in the tree, the computer found the match. And so all I had to do was add the match, and there he is. So now Mike, alias Jack, is connected to Agnes as an enslaved person that was part of her influence. All right, so there he is, Mike, alias Jack. So if I were doing research later on and found out about an individual named Mike who had been enslaved by Agnes or William Howard, then I could potentially find him with that information in the tree and connect the new information, new sources, new family members, or what have you, to him using this personal identification number in FamilySearch. So this is just
It's a
incredible.
what you just I just wanted you to finish that statement, and I want people to understand what that really means. We have a way now within FamilySearch to connect people who are enslaved with their slaveholder. This
And
is how you do it.
and
People
from that, connect them to their families. That's
and
the
connect them
goal.
to the sources and connect them, because that's what everyone says. Like, I know somebody who's got a list of enslaved people. That how do I preserve that information, or how do I, as maybe you are the descendant of a slaveholding family and have information on enslaved people. Using this other relationships allows FamilySearch patrons of maybe the descendants of the enslaved to find the slaveholder and find additional research and make those connections and have it in a place where it will stay and be maintained forever and have sources attached. And like that, this is what we have been asking for a long time. So
Yeah, and
I
I
hope
can't
you
think of
take advantage of it.
a better way to honor your ancestors than to preserve them and to make their names so that they can be found. It just it's just incredible. I can't say anything else about it. So that's all I have about this. I am going to
That's
end
all
my
you have.
show. That's it. That's all.
I love it. Oh my goodness. So in my presentation that I gave at Roots Tech, I had 4 slides on full text search. You took them through so much. I mean, I see I think people's minds are blown in the chat. And so I honestly I want to give this time what it's due and allow anybody who wants to, if you've got questions specifically on full text search, and I threw out some things with Chat GPT that kind of threw people off. Don't worry about that. Don't. Just look at how you use the full text search. Let's pause right now and answer them before I go on, because we've been going over an hour now, Julie. I didn't realize that. Like, it's gone fast, and my stuff's going to be little quick. And I think everybody's deep into this full text search right now that I want to give it its proper due. So if you've got, I don't know, Whitney or Shelly, if you guys can unmute people if they have questions or they want to raise their hands.
They can raise their hands or they can put them in the Q&A box. And also, I do want to send out a hello, welcome. And I apologize that I didn't call out the conference room at the museum in Charleston. We probably have viewers sitting there also watching this presentation. So kudos to those of you at the museum, and Brian Sheffy, the director of the Center for Family History, is with them. And of course, we have Whitney here with me, and she's monitoring the chat and the Q&A.
So this is, I
This is a
saw a
game
question in the
changer.
Q&A.
I'm
Sorry.
telling you guys, I've been doing research for over 35 years. This helps and makes interesting and fabulous connections that you might not have seen before, just because of the time it takes to probably go through a document, search, and everything. So again, so appreciative to what FamilySearch, and I'm going to say the engineers, because I don't know
Yes.
who did this time. It wasn't us.
Mike Davis, Ian James, and those 2
Yes.
teams are the people to be credited by name for the work that they've done.
Yes. And for African Americans or anyone that is researching African ancestry, this is exactly what we needed. This is exactly very timely as well. And so looking forward to see what comes next, because right now you made the point that, and I'm sorry, and I'm off camera, to make the point about the wills and deeds in the United States. Well, from there, I know Family Search, there's more coming. And I just want to say, hold on, strap yourself in. And again, if you've got questions, we know there's some in the Q&A. Tom's been seeing them. Whitney's been seeing them.
Yeah.
So all of you raise your hand, and you can go from there, or Whitney will read the questions to Thom and to Julia.
I know there's two questions that were out there. And so,
but why don't you go ahead and answer
I'm gonna go ahead. Well, the question, I think, Julia, you showed it. So I want to make sure that Janita got the answer that she was looking for. She asked, is there a way to save the information once you find it? And I think you showed how to do the other relationships, but it's really dependent upon you having a free Family Search account. That's where you can save it. And so if you're looking for that's an easy way to do it. Obviously, you can download those documents and the transcripts as you showed and keep them to yourself and use your own record manager if you're using other programs and things like that. But if you want to keep it in Family Search, you have to have a Family Search account, and then you can do that.
Yeah,
and then there was another question.
Attach the sources to the tree. Once you add your ancestors or the individuals in the documents to the tree, attach those sources so that other people can find them and download them and add them on other relationships, just do all of the things.
And then Shelley, you kind of mentioned this. This is the tip of the iceberg. So we have just loaded the 100 million images. And I think it was it Joe? I'm sorry, who asked the question about the plantation records.
Yes.
That is a complex answer. I'm just going to go on record and saying, because this week we had some trouble mapping back from the full text search to the collections in Family Search for those specific 3 million plantation record images. They're in there, but how do you find them elsewhere is I'm still trying to do. So I asked you to go ahead and send me an email, and I will kind of bubble that up to the team. But that's just, again, so when the experiment was there, it was on U.S. wills and deeds and Mexican notary records. Those are the two collections that were put in there. The Monday before they launched, they reached out to me and said, we threw another 3 million plantation records in there, Thom. They are going to continue to feed this engine of full text search with more and more records. Many of us know Andre Kearns. He came back. He was one of the early testers of the experiment before we came to this product. And he asked, what about court cases and legal records? And yep, it's all coming. And I know some of you have known David Rencher, and he talked about this at SLIG 2020, and it was coming. It takes time, but we've really, I think, ever since generative AI really got popularized with ChatGPT in November of 2022, we've seen so much in acceleration that Family Search will continue to try and keep up with that acceleration by feeding the full text search product with additional content. And you'll see it as you go to that webpage. If you go to Family Search Labs, enable that experiment. It is an experiment, so there could be changes to the design and things like that as it goes forward. They'll evaluate that after about 6 months, but it ain't going away, y'all. It's only going to get better.
But you want the feedback, and I want to make sure the audience gets that message. You start playing around with this, and if there's questions or issues or something you even have an idea about, you need to shoot it up and let Family Search know. Even if you contact me or whoever, we'll also make sure that they get that information. So Thom, I want you to go ahead and finish your slides and stuff. We're at about 2 o'clock. We're doing great on time. So I wanted to give it back to you, and thank you, Julia. Awesome. Don't go anywhere.
I feel bad. I told y'all that Julia is the real deal. And so
she is.
She gave, again, your specialty being a research specialist and how you help people is really about going through the details of things. I'm the program manager guy. I'm high level tops. So in this section, I may be going kind of fast through the things that I share just to give you a taste and a glimpse of some of these additional resources. We already talked about the research wiki, and she went through some details on some content available through the research wiki. But now here are some other things, and we'll kind of cross a little paths there a little bit with some additional research tools. I know your mind is still overflowing with information about full text search, but this is kind of my baby. We did some research at FamilySearch truly to talk to those African Americans who have a desire to learn more about their family history. We actually did preliminary research to find out, kind of what percentage of us 47, 48 million African Americans today would be interested in family history. And some of us aren't interested at all. So we talked to those who said they had an interest. And from that, we've developed some new things and features that would target those who are beginners. Full text search, all the using how to leverage the research wiki, all those things are kind of intermediate to advanced research steps. But if someone's coming for the first time to FamilySearch or wants to just find out, who is my great grandmother, and is there any information about her? This is where you go. This is right now a landing page, and it's not linked anywhere else. So you'll need to you'll be able. This is a presentation is being recorded. Right now, if you're watching, you can scan the QR code and go to this URL. But if you're watching, you can pause, go to this, type this URL in. Eventually, the plan is to get it accessible on the FamilySearch webpage and be able to link to it other ways. But this is a landing page that we created that's targeting in your first, it's got several different things actually. So let me go to the next page. Hopefully you can see, this is going to run through it real quick, but there are various elements of this page that I'm going to go and talk to you about more in detail, okay? And so, for example, at the top, you have this search box. And this search box allows you to search African American ancestors. When you come to FamilySearch today and use the search box that's there, it's searching all our historical records worldwide. This box is searching specifically for individuals who have been listed or documented in records as African American. So in this case, if I put in the name John Henry Biggers, Arkansas in 1885 and hit search, when I first came to FamilySearch to see, is my great granddaddy in there, I will come up with this. It will show me this. You haven't even had to log in. You haven't had to create an account. You'll see this list of information on someone by the name of John Henry Biggers. And this person specifically is African American. Julia talked earlier about kind of focusing your search when you're doing, even full text search and some of the filters you can use. We've pre-filtered this search by race, in this case, African American, to help you hopefully find immediately information on that ancestor. So this first image of the US Census, 1920 census, that truly is my great granddaddy, actually. There are John Henry Biggers in Arkansas that are not Black, but this limited the search results to him. And if I signed into FamilySearch, I could actually see the filter that's put behind it, similar to the filters that Julia shared before. That in FamilySearch, if you just do a top line search from that page for John Henry Biggers, you're going to come up with these 11 men that are either enumerated as Negro in a record, Black, or B, race B, in a historical record that match these search parameters. Again, just a way to that's what we heard from people that we interviewed, is that their first experience, they just want to have immediate success in finding something that's connected to them. And so this is our attempt to do this. Now, like I love what Shelley said earlier, we love feedback. So as you go to this page and as you try this, if it don't work for you, let me know. Let us know. Give us the feedback. We want to create the experience that's going to be helpful, particularly for those beginning their journeys into exploring their African American family history. So let us know. And you see here, I highlighted that. Now, one of the things I talked about was leading into that whole top of that landing page. I'm going to take a quick detour, so stay with me. But it's filtering search results by race. So that already, that little thing that we put on the landing page already has it done. But if you are doing a search for yourself, you can actually do this. You can actually filter by race yourself in doing your own search. It really eliminates a lot of the noise, and you'll see exactly how. So let's say I go into the United States 1900 census collection, and my target ancestor is Thom Pruitt. I knew he lived in Arkansas. Okay, if you want to go to this page, you can scan the QR code that's on here right now, and you can follow kind of my example for yourself if you want to go back and try and do it. So I put the name in, I go ahead, I click search, and it comes up with these results. And in this case, there are 53 Thom Pruitts in Arkansas that are in the 1900 US Census. And there are actually two ways to filter this by race. In this case, eliminating those who have not been enumerated as Black so that you can get to maybe your ancestor. Now, that is a bit of a risky search tool because that excludes things. And a lot of times we want to be broad and maybe filter through it ourselves by looking through it, because who knows how the enumerator might have documented this ancestor of yours. They could have been light-skinned and been called mulatto, or they could have been passing and known as white. And you might miss them if you're looking specifically for Black. But this is a way to look. And so you can do this. Sorry, I'm going to have to move my screen so I can do this. You can go over to where it says race on the right side of the search results. Okay. And you can filter it. Now, when you do that, oh, sorry, you're going to get a sensitive terms and content. Julia mentioned this earlier. We do not take license to change historical records. We present them as they were documented. And so there's some names, even in full text search, Julia was kind in looking for Negro slave, but there's the other N word that's in those documents, which we all know we've come across, that's in there. And so we just want you to be sensitive and know that that content may be there. And so this little pop-up comes up. And once you click OK, then you'll get a list that you can select from. In this case, these in the 1900 census were all the different racial designations that were given. And you see mulatto and Negro. And so in this case, I'm just going to select Negro. And now I see 5 from the previous 583 search results. And of course, for me, this first one is my guy. This is my this is my ancestor. Okay. So it really reduced it from, and as Julia showed earlier, going from thousands and thousands and thousands. Using this filtering gets you down to maybe a more manageable number to review and determine if that's your ancestor. There is a second way to do this, and kind of Julia showed more of the second way than the first way. The way I just showed you was going on that right side. But again, I'm sorry, it was 53, not 583. I exaggerated. We went from 53 down to 5. I couldn't remember the number. Sorry about that. So again, here's your search results. Just looking up Thom Pruitt, Arkansas in the 1900 census. And instead of clicking race over here, I'm going to actually go to the other side on the left and click race, as you see it there. Julia showed earlier how you can do by collection, by location, and things like that on the full text search. Well, wherever you see these little buttons here underneath the filtered results, you can click on them to further filter those results and get down to a more manageable number to review. So in this case, I do click filter by race. I see all the ones that are there, including the language about the disclosure about sensitive language. I go ahead and click Black because that's the one I'm looking for. And you see there's 5. When I click apply, then I get to the same result that I did earlier. So this is just a little technique that you can use if you're searching and you're commonly coming up on family searches, you're searching historical records, you're coming across just all these results, 583, 5,000, and you want to get it down and you think it might be helpful to do it by race, you can do it by race or any of the other tabs there that show you what you can filter by. Okay. So I'm going to pause for, I'm going to actually stop sharing and pause for any questions on that at all, or anything in the Q&A that I might need to answer as I'm going.
I have a quick question, Tom, and it's referenced in the chat as well. And as we all know who do research, that spelling does not count. And Julia did reference a bit about, you know, spelling. So can you clarify how this lab now is going to, or how does it address the different spellings of people's names or surnames, or is that something that's not identified yet? So in other words, and I'm gonna say it this way, one of my personal family lines is Goins. I have
Yes.
12 different spellings of
Yes.
Goins.
Uh-huh.
So how do we treat that when we're dealing with the labs and the text search? Put them all in there, or one and it will pick the variations?
Julia, I'm going to kick this over to you because I think it's just a principle that applies everywhere, not just text search on
Thank
family
you.
search. So Julia?
Yeah, so you're going to want to put in all of the different variations that you know of how to spell that word, and then use your wildcards in there as well. With a full text search, it is just looking for what you put into those boxes. I know like different websites have different search engines and different capabilities and different ways that they look for variations in spelling. And so in that way, if I'm searching for census records on Ancestry, I might get back different results than if I search the exact same way on FamilySearch. And that's just because the algorithms are different. You've got to be a really creative searcher when you're a genealogist, because you need to make sure that you include all of those variations. And if you come across a document by accident or in your research and there's a new spelling you haven't seen before, add that to your list, and then add that to the next time you do the full text search, you're going to want to put that spelling in there to catch those.
Thank
And
you for
the
that.
only thing I would say is full text search is truly the full text of the entire document that was transcribed. In the case of this 1900 census example I used, it's only using the field that was indexed. So you couldn't put into that 1900 census Tom Pruitt plus Arkansas minus what, you can't do that whole string of search. It's just, that's a name field on the 1900 census. And so you can do wildcards of the name spelling, but you can't do all the additional things that you would do in the full text search. But you can use those, again, use those wildcards like Julia talked about in your searching for names. And that's just good. That's just good research, right? Any other questions before I kind of jump back into this landing page? That was just kind of a quick aside about how to filter by search results on the landing page. I'm going to go on and talk about some of the other elements of this landing page just so you can see it. And I did share in the chat, there was a question about how to get to FamilySearch Labs. So the URL is there in the chat now if you need that. But when we were on the page, I showed this, you know, Paula Madison has been a Roots Tech keynote speaker in the past. And one of the things we learned in our research is really people are, you may be familiar with FamilySearch, or maybe this is the first time you heard about FamilySearch, which is totally fine. You know, we don't spend the heavy advertising dollars that some of the companies like Ancestry and others use. And so you might not be familiar with us, but in order to kind of get some credibility among Black folks, we've heard that really having names and experiences that other people have had that inspire others is what would be helpful to get people to kind of use the free services and things available through FamilySearch. And so we put up this quote by Paula Madison. We'll be adding more. And also you can see the folks that we work with. We aren't, I told you, 1894 is when we started this. We aren't new to the industry, but people don't maybe know us in the industry, but know some of these other recognizable names. Many are friends that maybe even are representing, you know, these organizations that are on on the webinar today, but we put these there just to help people know. And you can actually go to these websites from clicking these logos, just so people know that we as an organization are working hand in hand with all of these organizations and more to help with African American research. We threw some fun and games. One of the things we heard about for kind of people's first experiences to see how they're related to any famous relatives, or does FamilySearch really have anything on anybody Black? Well, we got some good stuff on Muhammad Ali. You should see the number of sources that are there for him and for Rosa Parks and for others that are on there. We've also made a way for you to get some quick access to maybe some tips and tricks of how to go about this. You know, some of you, I can tell, have been overwhelmed by the depth that we've gone through today, but we're just trying to give you some of the resources available. Maybe you need to kind of start from scratch. And how do you go about this? Well, we've created these 10 steps to help you reclaim your African roots and get started with African American genealogy. And actually, if you click on there, you see these first 2 steps. And I actually do a presentation called These 10 Steps. And really, those steps are, the first 5 steps don't have anything to do with going online, because a lot of it can be done by just what you collect. But we show all these other ones: creating your family tree and searching family tree on FamilySearch, which, by the way, it's free to search and free to have a FamilySearch account. And if you'd like, you can actually download these little 10 steps in a document called, ta-da, 10 Steps to Reclaiming Your African Roots, a guide to navigating African American genealogy. And so if you want to get this little booklet, you can scan directly and go to the website and download this booklet by scanning this QR code here. And it will take you through these kind of 10 steps. Some of those 10 steps actually show some of the collections and different content that Julia shared earlier today with us as well. So it not only just tells you steps, but gives you some, you know, how you should look at censuses and how to use the research wiki and things like that are all included in that. We also provide on the website, as you keep going down, a way to find a FamilySearch center. So more than 6,000 centers, local places where you can come for help. That includes affiliate libraries like the Center for Family History at IAM. You can schedule a consultation, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, where you can do a free online 20-minute consultation with a research specialist like Julia, or you can join our own online community. There's many people who have Facebook groups, and I know there's tons that are out there, but we actually have within FamilySearch a community, an African American community, where you can do kind of ask questions on your research. Some of the questions maybe you asked earlier today in the presentation. We also just put some frequently asked questions. We're all about SEO. I mean, that's the big thing today, is drive people to where they can get the answers. And I hear these answers, and I'm sure Shelley, Brian, you hear these questions as well as people walk in to the Center for Family History, like, can African Americans really trace their ancestry? Or, you know, how can I find out if my ancestor was enslaved? Or what's the best DNA test to take if I'm African American? We get these questions all the time, and we answer them on the website. And then we also have a place for you to create a free account or sign in if you already have an account and you've come to this page. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second before I go to the blog, just to catch up and see if there are any questions. Brian asked for the QR code for IAM guests to download the 10 Steps booklet. I will email that to you today, so you can have that. Are there any other questions or things that have popped up in the chat that maybe I haven't had a chance to see since I've been going, or anything, Julie, and what I've shared that you would add here before I go on to talk a little bit more, as we're kind of winding down with things here, just so you know the pace.
We have
Whitney, go ahead, Whitney. I was just going to call on you.
Oh, okay, please. Sorry. Oh, the Q&A.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I'm seeing.
Yep. So we have a question. Can you just explain how to get to that page again?
Yes. So it's easier to share than to explain, because it is, hold on, let me go back. It is a page that's not accessible any other way than to go to, hold on, let me see if I can go up there. Then to go to this URL. So you have to type in this URL, or you can scan this QR code and open it on your phone or something like that in order to get to it. I can also put this in the chat. Let's do this right now. While y'all are watching, I'll copy it, stop sharing, and put the link in the chat. That's a better way to do it, right?
Well, can I
That's what
share a
y'all
quick
wanted
tip?
in the first place. I don't know what I was thinking about.
Brian, Tom, can I share a quick tip?
Yes, please.
What you can do on Google is do family search, one word, comma, the title of the page you're looking for, 10 Steps to African American Genealogy, and push enter. It will come up.
Oh,
You
is
can
it now
do
showing
that.
up there? Oh, good. That's good.
But I'm
It's
just saying, people, this is an easy way. A lot of times when you're dealing with a lot of collections, you
yeah,
can always take, say, family search or ancestry, comma, and then type in. And I use it all the time with the Freedmen's Bureau. I go right to the state, comes up, family search, and it kind of just gives me all my selections from
yeah,
there.
yeah,
So if people have trouble forgetting the URL, that's an
yeah.
easier way to do it.
Yes, please use Google. That's why we put those search terms in there. I also put the link to the booklet so you can download it directly now. You can just go right to the page, and I'll actually figure out a way to get to the QR code, Brian, as well. I see a hand was raised by Renata. What you got for us, Renata? Or can she come off mute? Hold on.
She's not going to be able to. If it's a question, she's going to have to put it in the queue. Oh, maybe.
There she is.
I just allowed her to talk because I want to hear
Okay.
her.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for a wonderful, wonderful session. I had to get on my computer to be sure I wasn't dreaming because this had just happened for me last night. But they
Yes.
actually seem to have added a way to go straight to it from the Family Search homepage, but you have to be signed in. There's a little
okay.
box. I'm looking at it right now on the homepage, and you have to scroll down a little ways to see it. And it says Family Search Labs, and it has new beside it. And you click View Experiments, and you're in.
Okay. So let me. I'm not sharing right now. I this was like I was starting to
You
go
need
do
to
this
share,
for
Tom, and
myself.
thank you, Renata.
Yeah,
Let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and share and see if I've got it right. So I just did this landing page, but I'm just go to familysearch.org.
Yes. Just
Right.
go to the homepage.
And then you said sign in.
Yes.
So nobody get my password, right? Don't mess up my tree by signing in for me. And now I'm in here.
All right,
And
just
I can
scroll
go, you
down
said,
right there.
Whoop, you passed it.
oh, did I pass? I passed it.
It's
Sorry.
the
I was looking.
it's like the fifth box.
Oh,
or
family search. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep, there it
So
is.
if I'm at the top, there's now a view experiments here.
Yep.
That'll take you to the page, and then you can go into the full text search.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
So I demonstrated. Hopefully you can come back. I know you guys, Brian's going to be, and the team are going to be posting this webinar on their YouTube playlist, so you can watch it afterwards. So you can follow those same steps of once you've logged in, then you kind of go. In fact, I'll go back again. It should show up here. Once you're logged in, if you scroll down below record hints and recent people, you'll see Family Search Labs, right? I ain't even talked about this whole other section of Family Search that we have that most people don't know about, but that's for another day. I'm gonna stop
We'll
sharing.
schedule
You see
another
pictures of my
one.
family.
Let's make sure
So
we
we'll have
got
to
the
come. We'll
Q&A.
absolutely have to come back, is what
Yes.
it sounds like.
So
Okay.
Whitney, are there any questions in the Q&A box? You're on mute.
I am on mute. There's a lot.
Okay.
So we have one saying that they know the full text searching is in beta with just a few collections. If there is schedule for adding other collections.
No schedule. I kind of mentioned that earlier. No schedule per se. And this, like, somebody asked me this yesterday. They want to know, like, on this date, we're going to add this. On this date, we're going to do that, because it is still being tested. I think it's going to be a while before we can say we're going to release every month or every week additional records on there. Just be on the lookout on social, particularly if you go to Facebook or you go to Family Search on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of the new things that we're doing, or you subscribe to our newsletters, you'll be updated on when new collections have been added to full text search.
And then this one's a similar question to like the spelling and how everything's spelled differently. Is there ways you can variously search the like age estimates for documents?
Ooh, that's a good one. Can I put that one on pause? Because that's not a resource family search kind of question. That's a methodology question.
Mhm.
Let's make sure we come back to that because I've seen that before as well.
And then this next one is, if algorithms are different, which one do you recommend to use?
I'm not sure if I understand what they mean by algorithm. Julia, do you have?
My answer is all of them. I want to
Okay.
always search all of them so that I don't miss anything and try all the different ways to search. I usually try to search broadly at first and then filter down to a narrow search so I can first see how many results I can get and then focus down to a particular place or time period or collection. Whereas if I just start trying to search within that collection, I might miss something that's just outside of it. So I use every way I can possibly search in order to find the most information.
And I'm going to say this. This is just a slight pause, but we are the Switzerland of the industry. We are not like you can use those other companies to do your research as well, and maybe find things differently there. We're just sharing with you all that we have to offer. But if you're a good researcher, you're not just going to stop at Family Search if you can't find something. You're going to look at other companies that have it and try those various different ways. So I just encourage you to do that. I know there's some things that are unique even to your digital collection that Brian's amassed there at IAM Center for Family History that maybe we don't have access to as well. And so please use all the resources that you can to help you with your research. Just don't stop at us.
Yeah, we call all of those other companies our industry friends because we want to collaborate with them. We want to make as many records available to all the researchers as possible. So
it's putting it all together. I see a question about 10 million names project. Yes, this is all tied. So they are one of our industry friends. As you saw on the landing page, I showed their logo was on there as well as IAM. So they're an industry friend, and the things that we're doing on Family Search will help support that project. The things they're doing for that project will help support us at Family Search, will help all of us, I think. I think it's just kind of working together and collaborating and sharing resources and new technologies. As we do that together, it just makes uncovering our families and discovering these stories that much easier. It's not easy. It makes it just a little maybe easier. Instead of 2 hours of searching through, names in a census document, it takes you 20 minutes because now you know how to filter by race and things like that. So, okay. Let me go on. I'm going to switch. Anything else, Whitney or Julia?
No, they're getting more into the methodology questions.
Okay, so let me finish up with resources, and then we'll get into methodology, because that happens in anytime we talk about genealogy. People are like, "How can you help me with this research, problem and challenge that I have?" Right? So here, let me go ahead and look. Oh, I'm going to talk about consultations in just a second. Sorry. So let me go ahead and share my screen again and get back to my PowerPoint, where I can kind of talk about, we talked about that. So we were at blogs is what I wanted to kind of talk about. This is kind of one that's a little unknown, or kind of a secret, if you will, is our Family Search blog. And so you can go. We've created kind of this hub and spoke idea of our blog content. Blog content, people are like usually articles and longer form content. It's a lot for SEO, but we've also included some interesting experiences within the blog format that are easier to kind of to tip up and aren't as complex as like full text search. And so here's the URL. I will actually get out of this And when I come off sharing again, I will throw that into the chat for you all, or you can scan the QR code. But here's our kind of African American heritage blog. And what it does is you actually, while you're on that page, you can go down and you can learn things like just overall African American genealogy, or Freedmen's Bureau records, which I probably need to have Shelley come back and rewrite this, and Renata, who have been talking about this more than several of these articles we actually do refresh. We did some African American heroes you should know during Black History Month and all about Black History Month. So our blog takes you to all these different places, and sometimes they have some unique experiences. For example, one of the blogs that you should be aware of is something that Renata was aware of, but we did kind of a correcting of the index of the 1850 and 1860 U.S. Census slave schedules. Why did we do that? Because we found that there were counties, actually, I think my next slide, oh, I don't have that. We found that there were 10 counties where actually enslaved people were named on the slave schedule. If you're familiar with the 1850 and 1860 supplement to the U.S. Census, these slave schedules, most of the time, you know, those who were enslaved were only listed by an age, color, and gender. But there were several counties, like I said, 10, and there are 4,267 names of enslaved people that are on this slave schedule. When we originally published it on FamilySearch to search, all the enslaved people did not have a name until we corrected the index in 2023 and added their names to the index. So you can search these slave schedules for these specific counties and learn whether or not your ancestor was named there or not. And let me just do this. I'm going to jump out, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll just go to the page and show you, just so you can see a little bit about the different type of experience I said that we offer on a blog. This is our blog, the FamilySearch blog, and you can subscribe to it up here by clicking the subscribe. But if you come down, you can see a little more details about this. Recent update to FamilySearch to these slave schedules has made 4,000 names, right? And then are your ancestors in the 1850 and 1860 U.S. slave schedule? You can actually click on this and search for your people in the counties that were there. Now, these were the counties. So I know everybody's asking me, what do you mean? What were the counties? Well, here's the counties where enslaved people were named in these slave schedules, which wasn't typical. And then here's kind of a case study of a woman named Winifred that was found in the 1860 slave schedule, but then was also found in the 1870 U.S. Census 10 years later, right? And so kind of the connection for her and her information. That's the kind of things that maybe you'll run into on our blog. And so I encourage you to subscribe to the blog and see if you might find additional content there. Part of this also includes the Freedmen's Bureau and Freedmen's Bank record search. Julie did a great job of kind of giving an overview, and I know, Shelley, you got your Freedmen Fridays. But after the project to index the records that we did, we indexed 1.5 million digital images that resulted in 1,781,463 names. And those are the names plus a couple of other projects that we've done. We've got about 3.4 million names of individuals who were documented in records of the Freedmen's Bureau. However, that does not mean that was all the records of the Bureau. There are records that go beyond what was indexed. We tried to index those which we felt were most genealogically relevant. And that's what we did with the project in 2015 and 2016. So to answer any questions out there, are all the Freedmen Bureau records indexed? No. Are they slated to go into the full text search? Yes. I know that for a fact because we talked about it this week. So eventually some of the unindexed Freedmen Bureau records, like letters to the assistant commissioners and commissioner records and lots of other content that's in the Freedmen's Bureau, will be added to full text search. But for those records that have been indexed, if you go to this page, which is a blog page, discoverfreedmen.org, you can actually put in a name and search through all the indexed collections of Freedmen's Bureau records to see if your ancestor is there. It will not include all those that have been unindexed until they're added to the full text search. I hope that makes sense. And so in this case, I'm putting Thomas Reed in Washington, D.C. in 1870 and clicking on the search on this blog page that comes up with these results. And you'll see there were 3 collections that included someone by the name with the first name potentially Thomas, first name potentially Reed, and there you see that there's 3 collections: Freedmen Bureau ration records, miscellaneous records, and labor contracts. These were all collections that were indexed during the Freedmen's Bureau project that now come up in these search results that come from the blog discoverfreedmen.org, that you can click on this picture and now you can see this record that had the name Thomas Reed. But never fear, I said it earlier, the rest of the unindexed records from Freedmen's Bureau will eventually be added to full text search. When? I can't tell you. I don't know. But hopefully it will be, soon enough, and we'll let you know, because I know that's been a big thing that people have wanted for a while, is the rest of the Freedmen Bureau records to be indexed. So I'm going to stop there and just, well, I'll show one more slide. And then I'm going to stop altogether.
Okay, great.
That's all I'm going to do is show this slide. Okay. And this is kind of a plug for Roots Tech. Y'all can't come because we just finished, but we want you here. And we're so glad to have Brian Sheffy was one of the presenters at Roots Tech this year from IAM. Glad to have him and several others that may be on the webinar presented. But what we've done is we've cataloged a lot of learning and opportunities on this Roots Tech webpage. And you can get to it by clicking this rootstech.org and search for African American genealogy if you want to watch any of the videos there. There are 218 classes that we've done at Roots Tech in the last 3 years that focus on African American research, not just family search. These are, folks like Bernice Bennett and Angela Walton Raji and Shelley Murphy and Renata and so on and so forth. And companies like MyHeritage and Ancestry and Krista Cowan and 10 Million Names did a presentation this year from American Ancestors. A lot of them were recorded as video, not all of them. A lot of them are recorded as video. If they weren't recorded with video, but maybe have a syllabus, you can download that as well on the Roots Tech page. So I'm just giving y'all way more than you have the capacity to remember. And so this is going to be a presentation you're going to want to come back to. And I thank Shelley and the rest of the folks from IAM, Whitney and Brian and others for allowing us the opportunity to be with you and share just a few of the things that we've got going. We've got more. We could talk more and more, and you probably will hear more. We probably will be, and I'll just say this, Julia does webinars regularly. So if you want to go to the Family Search Library, just Google Family Search Library, you can see when webinars are happening, and you can join those kind of webinars. A lot of them are repeats. Some of them are, things. It's just we get new people, interested in family search and learning about us for the first time. I do presentations probably once a year like this that give the whole enchilada, right, for you. And then you can take it and please take everything that you learned today and tell everyone else. You can copy stuff. Don't use the Family Search logo if you do stuff, because that's ours protected copyright. But the content of what you learned, how you went about filtering by rate, how you went about doing full text search, what's on the research wiki, take all this content, put it in your own presentations, let your societies and others know about it as well.
So
I did not.
Again, it will be on the YouTube channel and the link is in the chat. Whitney, one last glance through. Did we cover any other questions?
Didn't. Yeah, one question I didn't answer. So, and I realized I didn't throw it up there. And I'm sorry. I feel like I'm kind of rushing at the end, but I'll slow down.
We got you.
Online genealogy consultations was a question. And they asked 20 minutes. What's the price if you need longer than 20 minutes? I'm going to give you 2 answers. Okay. Family Search does not do longer than 20 minutes. Our service is free, and it's really to be kind of an overview. It's not it's not a help you break that brick wall and let's work with you for 3 hours to do that. I've got one question, and maybe you can point me to a record that I can find. Is that kind of right, Julia? Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, so how the consultations work is you put in the ancestry you're researching, what your research question is, and some of the things that you've already done. And the research specialist is going to take a look at that information and help identify some next steps for you. And then you can go do those things, and then you can make another consultation and come back. We just ask that you don't do it more than once a week, but you could come every week and have a free 20-minute consultation with a research specialist. And I'm going to put the link for those in the chat.
Please.
And,
I'm going to
and-
throw out another thing.
well,
and
let
I'm
me
just gonna-
say one thing also.
I'm going to turn it over to IAM.
Okay,
Because
thank
I
you.
know that Brian and his staff provide more one-on-one assistance. So that is, and Brian, if you want to come off of mute or whatever, or someone from
We
your
got it.
organization talk about
We
it,
got it.
because it is different than ours.
Yeah.
This is the service we provide, but you also provide there at the Center for Family History something I think that's very valuable to anyone who really needs longer than the 20 minutes once a week help. So Shelley or Whitney or Brian, anyone want to jump in? Okay, Shelley.
The Center for Family History has one-on-one consultations. They are 45 minutes for $79. And they are focused. People will complete like a mini intake form that gives the research assistants opportunity to know what their specific question is or what their goal is. And then the job for us is to see if we can come up with records and resources and information to give to them to help them further their research. So it is a little more involved rather than just one, answering one question. Plus they give us insight to what their specific question is. They can go to the main IAAmuseum.org website, go to the Center of Family History, and once you click on that page under overview, just scroll down and it says virtual one-on-one consultations, and you go from there. Whitney, anything we need to add? She put the email address if you have questions, not consultations. That's different. But if you have questions for Center for Family History, the email is in the chat at the time. Anything else, Whitney?
I think the best thing to wrap it up, because there are a lot of questions we didn't get to, is the best way, if they have questions for FamilySearch, what would be the best way to contact y'all to ask those questions?
THOM@FamilySearch.org. So send those to me. I will not answer all of them. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all right
Why
now.
not?
I will find someone hopefully who can answer your question and get back to you.
And for the Center for Family History, it's cfh@iaamuseum.org.
And to be honest, I would much rather, and again, if Brian agrees with this,
Thank you,
please
Julia.
please use the museum.
Yes.
Because this is we're on their platform today. We're on their webinar. So if you have questions about anything today, filter it through them. We Brian and I and others chat regularly. And so if they have questions that need to come back to us, but they may be able to answer questions. I know we have some folks that are local in Charleston that are ready and prepared to volunteer at the Center for Family History that can also answer your questions if you're there. I know we're all on a webinar, but please go. You have to go check out this place for yourself. I tell people when I talk about it in hushed tones because it is sacred ground. The story that they're telling of our people and their contributions is a wonderful story that everyone needs to see and experience for yourself. So go to the museum. You got 9 exhibits 9 galleries that you can go to. It's a football and a half long wide. It's a powerful experience, as Angela says. I've had that powerful experience, and I know Brian is doing much to make the Center for Family History an even more powerful experience as a capstone to your experience in the museum. And so hats off to you all. Again, if anybody's got questions about events and all that other stuff, go to the museum. They're putting links I see in the chat and everywhere else. Please, we've just been privileged to work together and to be able to present this to you all, hopefully for you to share with others.
And it'll be on the YouTube channel, so people will be able to look at it as many times as they want. I do want to say the availability of saving the chat. Just look in the corner. There should be 3 little dots, and you should be able to click on that and have the opportunity to save the chat. So I want to say thank you to FamilySearch, to Thom and Julia. Definitely the best one we've got with all this information, the best day for people to see what's there, what's offered, and what's free. That's going to help that reclaiming and reconnecting for African Americans especially. So we appreciate your time this afternoon, and I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to say thank you to the attendees that are there at the museum, as well as attendees right here in the chat room. Come check us out in the 3rd Saturday in April, and that talk will be on the Center for Family History, just focusing on the center. And so there'll be a lot more to do, and a lot more to hear. So I thank everyone and bid everyone a happy afternoon, and thank you.